Welcome back to my channel, guys. Today we're going to paint Pink Spirea. This channel is all about painting watercolors and botanicals, and today we're going to be painting a Pink Spirea portrait, and this is all going to be done in real time. This isn't a very time-consuming project, and if you're a beginner, this is a really beginner-friendly project as well, so I encourage you to try and paint along with me. I'm just cleaning out my paint palette so I can mix up some fresh paint colors for the painting, and I just am using some inexpensive 90-pound watercolor paper, and the brand's Daler Rowney, and you can't really see it right now, but I did make sort of a rough, very light drawing just to guide me. And now for the colors, I'm going to mix up some pinks, and I'm using Cold Pink and Permanent Rose with my Munyo 48 pan watercolor set. You can check out more on all the colors in this set with my review video on this watercolor palette, and I will link that in the description as well. And I am mixing a little bit of yellow into some of the pinks that I am mixing up to create a bit of a peachier, softer pink color rather than just more of a bright magenta. I'm using one of my older paint brushes to do all the mixing so I can really get in there and get some rich color and not worry about scrubbing the brush and damaging the fine tip on my nice watercolor brush. And I've just watered the pink down even more to that fifth puddle there. You can see it's quite pale, so I have quite a nice selection of tones of pink. And now I'm mixing up green. And I am using some Undersea Green by Daniel Smith as well as Payne's Gray by Winsor and Newton. Those are the two colors I have in the middle there that I've squeezed on from a tube. I just really like those colors, and they don't have exactly that type of color in this palette. Now I'm just lightening the pencil lines on the drawing, preparing to paint. I'm going to wet the paper with clean water first and then drop in my colors and let them sort of bleed around on the paper to create that nice fuzzy effect of the Spirea flower look. And I'm just, not getting every spot wet, and I'm trying to create that sort of billowing cone-like effect with the clean water first before I drop the pink colors in. I'm going to be doing lighter pink at the top to darker pink at the bottom to capture the ombre effect and look of the flower. So I'm just making sure I keep the paper nice and wet so my colors will blend. And I've dropped a little bit of pink in, so I made sure I wetted the paper a bit more. And now I'm picking up my different pinks and just sort of dabbing the paper and dropping them in. I'm not really doing paint strokes, it's more dabbing the paint in and letting it spread out and blend on its own. And I am not placing the paint right out to the edge of where I wetted the paper. I'm leaving a bit of a margin of wet paper so that the paint that I do dab on can spread out more and create sort of a fuzzy edge to mimic the fuzzy look of the flowers. Now I am just finishing off the third flower. I think I'll make this one a little bit paler. I like having color variation within each flower that I paint, and then also overall on the composition it's nice to have some that are a bit lighter and darker to create more visual interest and depth. And again, I am just dabbing in some of that darker color while the paper's still wet to bleed through, but making sure I leave lots of light pink and paper shining through, as that'll make things much more three-dimensional and interesting to look at. Now I am starting on the stems. I'm using a 00 brush and just lightly dragging my brush down, just a single line, really simple. And you see the greens bleeding into some of the pink that's still a bit wet, and I actually quite like that effect. I'm not too worried about it, and I like the way it looks. So I've just added the stems in, and then I will switch to a larger brush to do the leaves, and making sure I have a nice medium and dark green mixed up for color variation. I always use at least 2 to 3 greens when I'm painting any one plant, because with the way the lighting hits a plant or leaves, there's never just one color green visible. And you can see lightly on my drawing where I've mapped out the leaves. I have an idea of where I'm going to put them. They don't have to be exact. And with my loose floral painting, as usual, I am making some darker leaves and rinsing and dabbing my brush and creating some lighter leaves as well. And I find this type of leaf, this sort of one-stroke painting technique, works really well, dragging the brush down and toward you. And this is something you could certainly try on a piece of practice paper before you work on your good copy painting. These are all basic sort of brush techniques that are really great to practice. So as I said at the beginning, this is a really good project if you're a beginner or you just want to work on your watercolor brush techniques. And you can see the mix of the lighter and darker leaves do give it a little bit of a illusion of some depth, of some are more forward and some are farther back in the painting. Now I'm going to add in some tiny little stems and veins on the leaves. You don't have to add a vein on every single leaf, but this will just pull things together and add a little bit more detail. And that's pretty much all of the fine lining that I'll need to do. I switched back to the 00 brush for doing those stems and veins. And I'm just having a look now to see if I'm finished, if I want to add anything extra. I decided to add just a few tiny little fine pink lines. You can't see them that much on film. They just give a little bit more detail to the flowers, as if you look closely at the real flowers, they have little stamens and little fluffy tiny stamens, which is like the center of the flower poking out on the edges. So I'm just lightly using my tiniest brush to add a little bit of flicks here and there to add that effect in. And that is pretty much it for this painting, guys. Thank you so much for watching the video. I hope you try this out, and leave a comment below if you have any questions or if there's another type of easy beginner watercolor flower project you'd like to see. And I'll see you next week with another video. Please subscribe to the channel if you liked this and give the video a thumbs up. It really helps my channel trend on YouTube so I can make you more videos.